Good morning, folks. So this will be our 2.1 notes. Please focus on mostly not just the vocab, but the math skill, because that's the part that is challenging for some of you. If it ever gets hard for you, feel free to reach out to me and try to schedule a Google Meet. Once you see me do a couple extra example, it might work. But I try not to do too many on here, so that way it doesn't take up too much time for people or gets too overwhelming. So the question of the day is, why do people, use unit in real life? Our ancestors are not stupid. They wouldn't use something that's bad in the long term for business, construction, and so on. So imagine if I was designing a house to build for a family member in Baja, Mexico, and all the measurement designed by the architect is in meter. So the house was supposed to be 7 meter wide and maybe 25 meter long, okay? And someone accidentally don't read the unit and assume, if an American company was doing the contracting, think that I just want a mini house or like a small cabin and build it 7 feet wide and X number of feet long instead of meter. That's going to be kind of messed up. Or if you plan to go on a trip to visit the same family in Baja, Mexico again, and you bring $600, or you want to bring $600 for that trip, and someone instead, went and assumed that you want to go to Mexico, so you were given 600 peso. That amount of money is quite different, so the unit makes a big deal. Unit. Most of these are pretty familiar with you guys already. Most base units start with just one letter, like S for second, M for meter, L for liter. Watch out for this one, aka kilogram, because the base unit for mass is actually not gram, it's kilogram. The reason is, in the average day life for many people in the past, gram is not something you buy with for food or clothing. You tend to buy things that are kilogram. Yeah, so just watch out for that. And then temperature is always in Kelvin, because Kelvin do not have a negative temperature, and because temperature measure energy, you can't have negative quantity. So the scientific unit for temperature is Kelvin, because it's always positive. The SI prefix, as I said, already loaded onto a white table and uploaded to our Google Classroom for you guys. But I will also have page 33 and chapter 2 PDF link on this presentation. And you will go to page 33 on the PDF, the page that has the number 33 in the bottom, and try to memorize as many of them as soon as you can. But make sure you memorize this 3 before our next Sing Meet. A derived unit is any unit that you can't measure directly. If I want to measure the density of a rock, I would have to measure its mass, then I would have to measure its volume, and I divide it out. So a unit like gram over centimeters cube or miles per hour are derived unit. Speaking of that, density is mass divided by volume. Density is how much material is packed into a space. We already talked about that. But here today, I'm dealing more with the equation part. Okay? So pretend I have this equation. Density equal mass divided by volume. If I want to find density, it's easy. All I have to do is plug in mass and plug in volume and divide out. And I get my answer. But what if I have a similar question and I'm trying to find mass? How would I get mass by itself, aka rearrange the equation so mass is by itself? So I would first write down the original equation, but I write it this way with over instead of the slash. So I want to get rid of v. Since v is in the bottom, and which means that means it's being divided by, I do the opposite. The opposite of divide is multiply. So now 1 on top cancel with 1 in the bottom. But please remember, whatever you do on one side, you do on the other side. So now I know is m equal vd or dv. It doesn't matter the order of multiplication. Okay. Or if I want to find v, how can I do it? So this is a technique that I personally use, but you do not have to use it at all. Okay. So feel free to use it if you want to, but you do not have to use it at all. Ooh, I don't know what happened there, so apologize. Back to pen. So once again, if I want to find v, I can do math and rearrange it. I can put a 1 here and cross multiply it, which solved for m earlier. M equal d times v. So if I want to get v by itself, I want to get rid of the d, right? So since d is being multiplied by v here, I would divide both sides by d. This cancel out. And I would get v equal m over density. With that, I'm going to teach you a way I do it, but I know very few people in America do it. And this might seem silly to some of you, but it works for me with pretty much any equation that has 3 variables. You can use it with this one, or you can use it with any other one. That's fine. So pretend I have an equation that you're all familiar with, which is speed equal distance divided by time. If I'm given distance and speed, and I want to see how long it takes to get there, how can I do it? I can do it the method which we just did using algebra, or we can do it another way. In my life, I'm very familiar with multiplying and dividing simple number like 5, 10, 2, and so on. So pretend I put 10 in for D and 5 in for T. What's 10 divided by 5? 10 divided by 5 would mean that S is equal to 2. So if I were to ask to find time, which represent 5, how can I get 5 from 10 and 2? The only way I can get 5 from 10 and 2 is to take 10 divided by 2. And 10 in this case is D, divided by 2 in this case is S. I double check. This is 5, and this is 10, and this is 2. 10 divided by 2 is equal to 5. I know it works. And you can do this for basically any equation. Okay. So now we're going to use that to figure out the problem in the bottom. What is the volume? So earlier we said, to do any problem, I would have the equation first written down, and I rearrange it to get what I need. So if I want to get V, I'm going to use my 10-5 method for you to see here. 10 divided by 5 equal 2. If I want to get V, which is 5, the only way I can get 5 is to take 10, which is mass, divided by 2, which is D. So now I know the equation I need is V equal M divided by D, and all I have to do is plug it in. What is the mass of the diamond in this case? And what is the density of diamond? You notice that the gram cancel each other out, and the only unit I have left is centimeters cube, which makes sense because if you look for volume, it should be cc or centimeters cube or milliliter or liter. Okay, so now I go to my calculator on my computer and I do 12.4 divided by 3.51. And I end up with a long number, but I only can keep 3 digits because all of the number given to me were 3. I always can keep only the least number I use in multiplication or division. So I would end up with 3.53 instead of 3.53276. So here's another example. Once again, what is the mass? So I would start out with D equal M over V. I'm looking for mass. In this case, I'm going to do it using the algebra way. I want to get rid of V, and since the V is in the bottom, I want to multiply V on top. And whatever I do on one side, I do on the other side. So I have M equal VD. And now all I have to do is plug it in. M is equal to V, which is 0.050 centimeters cubed. By the way, 0.050 only have 2 useful digits. That 0 in the front is called a decimal placeholder. It counts as nothing in terms of value of accuracy, but it does count in terms of numbers. Times density. And for those of you who don't know, cc stands for centimeters cube, and that's how they often refer to it in the medical field. And here I forgot the gram, so I do apologize for that. So the centimeters cube is on top. This is in the bottom. It cancels out. Mass should be in gram. And so when I punch that out, I do 0.050 times 3.51 and I end up with a number that's 0.1755. If I only can keep 2 digits, I would round that to 0.18. And as I said, on your own, you need to practice a little bit. So go ahead and try to do this problem on your own. So this is your task to do. Okay, please do this on your own on the slide. Peace out.